In this video, I'm going to show you how you can add highlights to your pictures and make your designs pop. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So usually when you are creating designs and then there is a light source, the light usually hit the subject at an angle. So the angle that the light hits, that is what we call the highlights. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create those lights and then how you can create the highlights so that the picture will look very nice and then also stand out in your designs. So we are going to jump into Photoshop and then I'll show you how we can do that. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop and we have this design here, and I'm basically going to walk you through how you can actually create this style of highlights in Photoshop, and it's really simple and it's not complicated. So stay tuned to the end of the video and you might learn something. Here we have a blank page right here. So what I'm first going to do is I'm just going to add a blank background right here. I sampled colors from this right here. So to sample a color, just press I on your keyboard and then you sample any color that you want right here. In this case, I'm just going to sample the color from this right here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new layer right here. Then I'm going to pick my brush tool. So when I pick my brush tool, I'm just going to click to create the color right here. So I'm going to click once again to create another one, and then I'm just going to press Alt on my keyboard and then sample a lighter version of this right here. So I'm just going to sample this right here, and then I'm going to make a similar one right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another new layer, and this time I'm going to sample from this side. So I'm just going to click right here, and then what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to change this from normal, the blending mode from normal to screen right here. So I'm just going to reduce my brush a bit, and then once I change it from normal to screen, it's actually going to make it glow. And this is the first step to creating our highlights. Right now we are trying to identify where the light is coming from, and it's going to come from our right side. So I'm just going to click right here, so you can see we've made our first glow right here, and I'm just going to move back right like this and then create another one right here. The next thing I'm going to do is bring in our picture so we'll see how it looks. So this is our picture right here, and as you can see, this is the before and this is the after. So we actually have the edited image right here. If you want to know how I edited this image, leave a comment and then I'll do a video about it. So right here we have this image. So our first step is that we have the light coming from this side, and then I want to create another glow that is going to glow on distance. So that means there's going to be another light source here. So, and that light source is going to hit this part of the face, and then this one is going to hit that part of the face. So we're actually going to have a highlight that is going to just run across this whole subject right here. And we are going to make it in such a way that it is just on the edges, and it's just going to make our design pop. So the first thing I'm going to do is double click on our picture right here, and actually let's go back. So the first thing I'm going to do here is just create a color balance. We need to actually make this have the same similarity. You need to actually color balance this right here. Right now it looks too there's a lot of magenta. I can see magenta in here, so I'm just going to move it from magenta to red. And then since we are kind of in a yellow gold background, I'm actually going to move this from blues to yellows. So now we have something like this. Just look at this. This is the before and this is our after, and I'm actually going to clip max this right here, so it will only affect our subject right there. So we are going to open our blending mode, and to do that we are just going to right click and then click on blending options. And now what we are going to do is come to inner shadow. So once I click on inner shadow, this is what you are going to see on your this is the effect you are going to see on your picture, and this is basically where we are going to do all the work. So first of all, I'm going to change the blending mode from multiply to normal right here. This is going to change it from just being a blending mode to just a normal layer, a normal color. So for example, if I click on this and then change it to white, you are going to notice my edges here is changing to white. If I can click and drag so you can see it better, just like that. So let's reset that. So I'm just going to double click on the layer again to get into that, and then go to inner shadow, change this from multiply to normal, and then we are going to sample our color from here. So I'm just going to click and then click on the color panel right here, the color icon. I'll click on it right here, and then I'll sample our color from here. Right now we are not seeing any changes, and that is because we actually haven't done any movements around here. So usually what I do is I'm just going to click outside of the box and then drag it towards, and then drag it like this, so you start to see the highlights on the side. I'm just going to increase the opacity to 100, and you start to see it very well, just like this. So I'm going to drag it just like this, and then I'm going to increase the size a bit to soften it. And then what I usually do is just increase the choke a bit, but we are not trying to do it too much, so you have to be careful how you do this. So I'm just going to bring it right back, just like this. We need it to just blend into the image very well and not do it too much, so you have to be careful with the values over here. You can also copy the values I'm using over here. So now I think we have the desired effect that we want on this right side. So I'm just going to click on OK. You can always come back. So I just want to reduce this a bit. Alright, so this is good. So now that we have this here, I'm going to right click, then I'll change this to create layer, and that's actually going to create a layer for that effect that we just created right here. So I can actually select the layer right here, and I'll add a clipping mask to it. And then what I'll do is I'll select my brush, right click, and I'll reduce the size of my brush, and then I'm just going to erase the parts that I don't need right here. So I'm just going to erase this left side. We'll get to that in a second, but I'm just going to erase that part right here, just like this. And now we are actually going to create the glow from this right here. So I actually have my my CD sign right here, and to create the glow is actually very simple. I'm just going to add a new layer just like this. So let me just get rid of all this so it will not be confusing. So I'm actually going to just add a new layer. Now this is my layer. I'll just add a new layer just like this. Then I'll go back to my brush tool, press the square brackets square bracket close to increase the size of our brush tool. So I'm just going to sample this right here, maybe sample something like this, and then convert this from normal, change this from normal to screen, and then I'm just going to press like this. I'm just going to press once and release, just like that. We've created our glow, and this is too much I think, so you can just reduce your opacity a bit. So now we have a second light source that is going to hit our subject from the left side. So we can come back in here to our image right here, and then I'm just going to double click again, and then we go back to our inner shadow. So if I click on the inner shadow, you are going to notice our effect that we had previously is still there, but you can just make your changes since we already have that effect. Since you have already created a layer for that effect, you don't need to make any changes here. So we are going to focus on the left side of the image right now. So I'm just going to click and drag till I see something like this, and then I come back to my colors, click on this, and then I try to sample something that reflects the color of the glow right here. So I think this is okay for now. Then I'm just going to drag this back. I don't want to overdo it, so I'm just going to make sure it is just right here. So make sure you are being careful while doing this. You don't want to overdo it. Just going to increase the size a bit, maybe something like this. Create a choke. Let me see. And increase the size a bit, maybe drag it out a bit, so we have something like this. You can actually copy these values and then use them for your demonstration. So I'm actually going to click on OK, and then we are going to actually do the same thing again. We are going to right click and then create another layer. So we have another layer of the effect, and then we are going to basically repeat the same thing. I'm going to click on this, add a new mask, and then I'm just going to erase the parts that we don't need right here. So I'm just going to erase those parts right here. And then another thing that I usually do is I just add some color along the edges to emphasize on the highlights more. So I'm just going to create a new layer on top of this, and then press Alt and click in between these two layers, and then I'm just going to clip mask it just like that. And I'm just going to sample a color from this side just like this. And then what I'm going to do is change this from normal to screen, and then I'm just going to paint just lightly along the edges. And then what I'll do is I'll double click on blending mode, and then in blending mode here you can see I'm moving the shadows to the highlights. This makes sure that you separate the color from the shadows, and then you only maintain the highlights. So I'm just going to drag it to about around here, and then what you do is you hold Alt and then you click on the holder. So once you do that, it will break it into two. So you now have two things, and then you just adjust it, and then you have something like that. And then what I did again here is just reduce the opacity, and then that was it. And then we'll do the same for the other side. And here I'm just sampling a color from the city sign, and then I'm just going to follow the same process by painting the more broader highlights or the enhanced highlights along the edges of my subject. So we are going to end up with something like this. Just make sure that you are not doing it too much, so you have to take your time with this. And then I'll double click on the layer again to take me into the blend mode, and then here I'm just doing the same thing again. Press Alt to break it up, and then move it to the other side. Just make sure you are not overdoing it, and then just make sure it's balanced too. So we'll have something like that, and then reduce the opacity. So yeah, that is how I was able to do this highlights right here. So these are just enhancements to what we've done already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new layer, sample a color from the background, and then change the layer from normal to screen. And once I do that and then click, we are going to see the glow is actually going to appear on our image. So that is what we have right here. So the next thing I did here was just duplicate my city sign, take it to the background of my subject, and make sure it is on top of the glow layers. So I'm just going to position it like this, and then move to blur, and then I'm just going to blur it a little bit. So Gaussian blur around here is fine. And okay, then the next thing I'll just do is just duplicate the same logo, and then make sure I place it in a different place just to make it look very good, and also makes the subject stand out. That is the goal of this whole thing. We are trying to make the subject stand out. So we are going to have something like this. Usually after this, I just bring in my design elements and I just make sure my composition is okay, and usually you end up with something like this. And with this design, we're able to create this thumbnail right here, and you can see it just makes the whole thing stand out, especially our subject and how we're able to create those highlights. It really contributes to making the subject stand out in this case. So yeah, that is how I was able to create this, guys. If you learn something, don't forget to subscribe and follow for more. I'm going to release more of these kind of things and breakdowns of designs that I usually do, and also just tricks that I use in my designs, so we all can learn something. So if you learn something in the video, feel free to subscribe, share with your designer colleagues, and then let's just keep creating together. And I'll see you in the next video.